Hey guys, a little stream of consciousness. I've got camera problems here. There's like a nice glare on the screen. I'll try to keep it off my face. I think it's from like the screen protector I have. Sorry guys, I'm not dealing with like expensive equipment here. Maybe that will change. I'm open to that changing, but right now it's this. So yeah, if you're listening, by the way, I would ask you to please speed it up. Put the playback on like 1.5 or even 2x. I think it makes it easier to actually listen all the way to the end when you don't have to listen to somebody. Because I don't know, I feel like my mouth moves like a lot slower than my my brain. So when I listen to myself on 1x, I'm just like, why do I talk so slow, man? Like, put it on 2x, and I'm like, okay, there we go. That's like the speed that I think at. It just takes longer for the words to come out. Yeah, I'll show you guys a little bit of the space that I'm in here in Costa Rica. Cabin, 2-story cabin here, and there's a nice river. I'll just walk over there and show you guys. I've been kind of doing the Airbnb life. You can see this huge bamboo stalk right here, and yeah, I'm actually, here's my dog, by the way. Bonita. I'm actually in San Jose, the capital city of Costa Rica, and one of the things I really like about Airbnb is the way it offers so many diverse living experiences. I'm just here in this little cabin, I think, for a few days. Yeah, part of why I wanted to come on here was just to say that I feel really blessed. I've been really feeling, I'm really feeling God has been bringing me into a season of appreciating having very little. For example, not necessarily knowing, where I'm going to stay tomorrow, things like that. Having a lot more uncertainty in my life. And it's reminded me of a Bible verse where Jesus said, "Foxes have dens and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head." And God has been really reminding me and sending a lot of signs and I would say different affirmations and things like that into my life lately to remind me that we can have so much faith in God. We can place all of our faith in God where we don't worry ever about things, We just know that we're being cared for and we're being provided for. And I know something I struggle with within my own mind is I really cling to a lot of security, and I want to have like all the answers, and I want to know like, where am I going to be living? Where am I? Is my refrigerator stocked up full of food? And I've been going through a season where God is really sanctifying me and humbling me. And it's been so beautiful because since I've been in this process the past couple weeks of having to deal with a lot more kind of like scarcity or uncertainty, I'm just seeing so much of God's grace coming through, where like my own mind and my own mental processes of wanting to cling to security or some kind of like solid understanding of how I'm going to afford things and, where's my income coming from and things like that. Parallel to that process, God has just been showing me like, yeah, you're not going to have any answers to any of that stuff, but somehow you're still going to be provided for. You're still going to have food. You're still going to have a roof over your head, And I just keep thinking about Jesus, how, when he was here on his earthly ministry as the Son of God, like he was sometimes living like a homeless person, or he was, sleeping out in the wilderness, or he was moving around and staying with various people. And so I've been living a little bit more like that lately. It's not probably what would be my preference or my first choice. Like, I don't necessarily want to be living like this, for the rest of my life. Let's put it that way. But for now, for a season, I'm feeling so blessed. And yeah, I just keep being reminded that it's really all about just putting our faith in God so that we have peace, because the world wants to take that peace away from us. And one of the ways it will do that will be to instill and to facilitate these stories that we don't have enough. There's never enough. We always need more. We need to accumulate more. There's never enough money in our bank. We're never wealthy enough. Our house is never big enough. That kind of more materialistic mindset is a way that our peace can be stripped away from us. And so I'm really celebrating as this new year begins. I'm feeling so much closer to God in general. And I realize that a big part of the reason why is because he's called me to step out in faith and in full trust, where I'm not able to right now resource myself with as much of a sense of security as I would like. I can't just go, throw down a couple $1,000s on rent and a bunch of food and stock up my fridge and just like I sometimes feel like I'm a bear and I just want to like be in my bear cave with all of my supplies and my resources, and I don't want to have to worry or encounter any of these feelings of scarcity. And what I've noticed that God is teaching me and God is showing me at this time is that there's something so beautiful about just being broke and being like, yeah, like I got no money, I got no plan, I got no idea really of what God is doing in my life right now. But what I do have is I have faith. I have an increasing amount of faith. And I do think that God is calling us to live. God is calling me. I think other people are a lot better at this than I am. I'm just very new to learning how to be better about this sort of thing. But I feel that the calling in general is to get so good and so at peace with trusting God's plan for our life that we just don't really demand answers. We don't need to have everything figured out. Jesus famously said, don't worry about the problems of tomorrow, for today has enough problems of its own. And so I just keep living in this peace and in this full knowing of just God's mercy and God's grace is so rich and it's so abundant and it's so overflowing that our challenge, I think, as humans is just to find an opportunity to kind of get out of our own way, just to dwell in those blessings, just to dwell in that grace and that mercy and realize wow, I'm so rich. I'm so rich, actually. I'm so blessed, Here I am, I've got this 2-story cabin. I got $1,000 phone that I'm recording this on. I've got my dog here. Both my dog and I have enough food today. If I'm just present with all of those things, I realize I'm just overflowing with blessings. And what this has done for me is it's unlocked this desire in my heart to allow God's blessings to overflow outside of me and through me onto other people, to where even if I have very little, and I've had moments recently where I've had very, very little, and I've noticed that there's this tendency to cling to this very little bit and think okay, I gotta stretch these resources. I gotta make this very little bit that I have to somehow make it work for me so that I can survive. That's one way of doing it. And then there's this whole other way of doing it, which is just, let me just give it away because there's somebody who needs it more than I do, Even though I don't have very much, there's someone else with even less who's even more in need than I am. And this has been a really just beautiful chapter for me to, kind of against my own will in a sense, because of course, what would I prefer? I would prefer every other human to have a bunch of money and to have my bank account just have a bunch of zeros in it. And, that of course is obviously way easier than a path that's much different where there's a lot more uncertainty. But I'm feeling blessed these days. I feel like one of the ways that God is sanctifying me and cleansing me from my own journey is to show me even though I do still covet money or I desire money, God is showing me this beautiful, beautiful chapter that I'm experiencing right now. He's showing me that I'm almost better off without it. Honestly, for real, I'm way less self-destructive when I don't have a lot. And because I don't have the resources to, to be gluttonous or to spend excessively or to, fall out of alignment with God's will because I'm off doing what I want to do. I'm in a more humble place now, and it's teaching me a very important lesson, which is that if and when I do have more, when there is a surplus, when the bank account is going back up or whatever, that I can just stay, I can dwell in this space that I'm in right now, where I'm just like, that's okay. I'll just spend, $5 or $8 a day on food instead of like 20 or 30 or 40, like I can have a tendency to do. And so I'm being purified, I'm being sanctified in this way, and I'm realizing in the process that it's pulling me closer to living how Jesus lived, and it's pulling me closer to the heart of humanity, to the heart of other people, where maybe the difference between me and the person on the street begging for money, maybe I don't look at them and see them as so much of an other, or that they're so different. It's like, no, like them and I, like we're in closer proximity to one another in terms of the essence of how they're living and how I'm living. There's not humongous differences compared to at least maybe how there used to be when I was more materialistic, or when I was more in the world, or when I had more money. And those sorts of ways of being more in the world can I do think indeed separate us, of course. That's why Jesus said it's easier for a rich man or for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. I think this is what he might have been pointing to, is that when we're rich in a worldly sense, in a materialist sense, we're so far removed really from the essence of the kingdom, from the essence of how Christ himself lived, which was to kind of lament. I think he said that verse of the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. I believe he said that verse when one of his disciples was deciding to follow him. He said that almost as like a warning, to say like, hey, if you're going to follow me, like just FYI, like you're going to have to make sacrifices. It's going to be hard sometimes. There's going to be things that you have to give up. And that was something that Christ is always calling us to do, which is to give up our attachments to this world, and to really, really, truly try to take to heart that this world, like really, honestly, is not our home. It just isn't. This is a place that we're just visiting, we're passing through. We have some temporary stay here. I like to think for a certain purpose or a certain mission. I genuinely believe that if we're living God's will for our life, that we have a purpose or a certain mission that God has given us, and that while we're in the process of living out and fulfilling that mission, that we are in some sense, we are like immortal, in the sense that God is protecting us. He's saying, no, I'm not ready to call you home yet, because I got a purpose for you. I've got a plan for you. You got work to do. You're down there for a reason. There's something I want you to complete first, to achieve first, before I call you back, before I welcome you home. And so I invite us all to realize that when we're in alignment, therefore, with God's will for our lives, that there really, truly is, and I'm preaching to myself here, okay? I want to learn this as much as I want you to learn this, but when we're living in alignment with God's will for our lives, there genuinely, truly, legitimately is nothing to worry about or to be afraid of. Like, God actually has got us. Like, we're going to be okay. Now, of course, okay, that sounded nice, right? But quick caveat, that doesn't mean that we just be completely neglectful or what's the word? Like sloth. I'm not suggesting we just do nothing with our lives and never have a care in the world and just think, oh God, God has got my back. Like, no, of course we want to still be responsible and make efforts to make ends meet and things like this. So please, receive these words with a sense of discernment, because that's important too. But yeah, that's it out of me today. There's a lot going on in my life, and it's all so beautiful, and I just feel that God is just really inviting me to come even deeper onto the narrow path to following Christ, and to just embrace everything that path entails and requires, which includes a lot of uncertainty, or at least it can include a lot of uncertainty. It may not always, but it can include a lot of uncertainty, and it can include a lot of just peace, guys, just a lot of peace and grace and serenity. And just realizing like, wow, I wouldn't trade my life for anything right now. Like, there's nothing this world can offer to me that I want more than just to have this closeness with God and this space that I have to be reading his word and to be fellowshipping with other believers and things like that. So yeah, I just started off the year on this channel with that message, and I'm just grateful for the ways that God has been letting me know lately. He's been letting me know very clearly that it's okay to have uncertainty. It's okay to not necessarily have a plan. It's okay to wait, just to wait in silence to hear from God, where it's like, I don't have all the answers. In fact, I don't have any answers, but I know that God, he's not going to abandon me. I know that God's not going to turn his back on me. So I have faith. I'll chill. I'll wait. I know God has a plan for my life, and I know that God's going to make that path forward really obvious to me when I need to have that information and not a moment too soon. So yeah, guys, thanks for listening. I'll leave it there for now. I hope you listened on 2x speed, so this only took you 8.5 minutes instead of 17. And I wish you a happy 2024. I'll be doing more uploads, and hopefully I'll get this like glare thing on my screen fixed at some point. And yeah, I just wish you well, give final parting word, give with a generous spirit this year. I thought about when I was making this video, I was like, if anyone would watch this video and think like that they would want to give to me or to donate to my ministry, I want to tell them, you know what, don't even, thank you. If you felt that, which I don't think very many people would, but suppose you felt that way, I would say, go give it to someone who needs it more than I do, because I'm good, actually. I'm good right now. I have the peace of God and a place to stay and food in my fridge, and hallelujah for that. So let's keep looking out for those who are more in need, because remember, last thing I'll say, Christ taught us, what you do for the least of those among you, you do for me. And so I really want to try to embody more of that spirit this year, to remember, the more I'm able to help out the least fortunate people that I might come into contact with, that's where I'm really helping out Christ himself the most. And so, yeah, I leave you with that, and have a beautiful day. Thanks for watching.